All right, it's time now for Focus. Today we have a report from Germany, which has a large Turkish community, a divided community with tensions, just like in Turkey, between supporters of President Recep Tayyip Erdogan and followers of Fethullah Gulen, the US-based cleric Ankara blames for July's failed coup. Now, since then, Turkey's been cracking down on the Gulen movement, firing people in the military, judiciary, etc., swelling the ranks of Gulenists in Germany. Our team in Berlin sent us this report.
To protect him, we'll call this man Murat. He fled to Germany from Turkey in July with just 400 euros. He's part of the religious movement headed by Fethullah Gulen. The Turkish government and President Recep Tayyip Erdogan blame Gulen for a failed coup in July. After it failed, members of Murat's family were arrested, their goods were seized. He's collected articles accusing him of being a coup plotter.
I decided to leave my country as fast as possible because I was immediately the target of a defamation campaign. And what was worse was the way my family, my kids and brothers and sisters were being harassed. Psychological harassment, or mobbing, as it's called. Well, they were being targeted the very same way I was.
Murat hopes his family can join him soon. Meanwhile, he keeps a low profile. Tension inside the Turkish community in Germany has been growing. On social media, calls to boycott Gulen followers and insults against them are everywhere. At times, the conflict hits the streets. Here in Gelsenkirchen. In this scene from July, Erdogan supporters attack a center for Gulen followers. The Neukölln neighborhood is the heart of the Turkish diaspora in Berlin. The people who accept to talk to us support Erdogan. More than 60% of the Turks who live in Germany voted for his party in the last elections.
Erdogan's a really good man. Everything's been better in Turkey since he's been in power. People have work and there's stability, even in the east of the country.
Erdogan is the best president we've had in 100 years. Everything he does is for the people. All the others are puppets.
Erdogan has influence here. Too much, say some. Sevim Dardalan is a German MP. Her parents came from Turkish Kurdistan. She's frequently accused by Erdogan followers of supporting the PKK, which Ankara calls a terrorist organization. In June, she voted to recognize the Armenian genocide. Since then, she's been getting death threats.
It was very shocking for me to see that people who have been living here for decades and who are part of German society do not respect the values of our country. Things like freedom of speech and the freedom of MPs to vote as they choose. There are people who feel more grateful towards the government in Ankara than towards the German parliament.
She says the Turkish community has never been more divided, and the splits could worsen. The number of Turkish citizens asking for asylum has doubled since the beginning of the year. Many are Kurds or followers of Gulen, and there are even a dozen or so diplomats. Süleyman Bak wants the German authorities to protect them. He is the editor of a Turkish-German newspaper. Bak says it's time to fight against the growing influence of the Turkish government.
In Turkey or here in Germany, pro-democracy Turks are very disappointed by the German government, but also by other European governments. They feel betrayed. They also think these countries should prevent foreign governments like Turkey from meddling in their internal affairs. In Germany, there are some 6,000 informers working for the Turkish secret services, spying on German citizens. Germany should act against this, in the interest of social harmony here.
The German government worked hard to strike a deal with Ankara to stem the flow of millions of refugees into Europe. But after the failed coup of the summer, the government faces a new dilemma. Ankara will hardly be pleased if Berlin gives political asylum to Turks in Germany.
Now, for more on this, I'm now joined from Berlin by Daniela Schweitzer. She's the director of the Europe program at the German Marshall Fund of the US. Hello, thank you very much indeed for your time. If we could just start off with a little bit of context. When did Turks start heading to Germany en masse, and why?
Well, first of all, there is no current huge wave of immigrants from Turkey to Germany. But still, we have 3.5 million Turks in Germany, and most of them came during the last century because just 55 years ago, Germany and Turkey signed an agreement that so-called guest workers would come from Turkey to Germany, and they came in very high numbers. So today, 3.5 million people in Germany are of Turkish origin. And more recently, of course, after the developments in Turkey following on the military putsch, more have come, but we are far from having a huge wave of movement at this point.
Now, in our report, we heard how the Turkish president has a lot of influence with the Turkish community in Germany. Just how much influence would you say he has?
Well, he comes to Germany to speak to the Turkish community. He has done so in the past, even before elections. And so there is a direct contact and a direct influence, but obviously also the community here consumes Turkish media, reads the internet. And as your report correctly has said, the community of Turks in Germany is divided over the question whether Erdogan is doing good for the country after the putsch or whether he is going too far with the suppression of democracy, free speech and media, as we have seen really accelerating again over the past days.
And what are the German authorities doing about these tensions in the Turkish community?
Well, a major issue is, of course, first of all, integration into the German society. And as I said at the start, there is a history, a 55 years history of having Turkish migrants arrive in Germany. And if we look at this big Turkish community in Germany today, it is very clear that some are completely integrated. They make their career in Germany. Just look at the political system in Germany. Now we have very prominent Turks, even in German parliament and German government positions. And the leader of the Green Party is of Turkish origin. So this clearly succeeds. But there's also a part of the Turkish community which has, in a way, locked itself off, where the main language is still Turkish, where the integration with the German society lags behind. And that's where this conflict that divides Turkey and the Turkish diaspora everywhere in the world also plays out. And that's why Turkish issues are so salient now for this group in the German community, in the German society.
And for the report we played just before this interview, we spoke to a journalist who says, quote, in Germany, there are some 6,000 informers working for the Turkish security secret services, spying on German citizens. Germany should act against this. What's your reaction to that?
Well, I cannot confirm those numbers. I've heard them too, but there's been no more official judgment whether that is actually true. But of course, it is a big issue because obviously Turkish-German relations are under tension on many issues. And it's not only political tensions over certain issues, but it is also a huge interdependence of both countries. If you take the German perspective, obviously, the major topic is the deal struck with Turkey between the European Union and Turkey over the channeling of immigrants from Syria and other neighboring countries, which is crucially important to German political stability at this point, because this is the main deal that keeps migrant inflows into Europe low. And so there's as much polarization as there's interdependence. After all, Turkey is a NATO member, so we are part of the same alliance. So the relationship between Berlin and Ankara, but also between Brussels and Ankara, is definitely not an easy one today.
But would you say that if it weren't for this deal, if it weren't for the fact that Europe needs Turkey in addressing the migrant crisis, then perhaps we'd be hearing a little bit more criticism from not just Germany, but other EU governments with regards to the crackdown? I mean, today Angela Merkel said the crackdown on the media particularly was highly alarming. But on the whole, we haven't heard all that much criticism.
I agree, first of all, that the criticism hasn't been strong enough. We could have gone months back in making those statements, because this has been going on for a long while, that media are suppressed, journalists arrested, and newspapers shut down, which is definitely not something we should keep silent on. You have emphasized, indeed, the linkage to the migration deal. There are then other issues as well. I mean, this is an important one, but also Turkey's role in the region. As I said, it's a NATO member, and so obviously Europe and Turkey are strategic partners, and Turkey plays a key role both in a good and in a more problematic sense in the neighboring countries and in the Middle East region. So there are several constraints that maybe keep governments and the EU to respond clearly. But I think it is very positive that finally today those clear words were found by Chancellor Merkel.
All right. Well, thank you very much indeed for your time and your analysis. Daniela Schweitzer joining us there from Berlin.